Hi kids, and welcome to day 8 of learning Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd. So remember, we've been working on the psalm, and so far we've done 3 verses and we're working on the 4th verse today. So yesterday we started the 4th verse, and remember I said when we talk about 4, we can use 2 hands, and we can remember that it's a valley in between 2 mountains. So even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid, for you are with me. Today we're going to work on the rest of that verse, and it says, your shepherd's rod and staff comfort me. So for us, again, we're not shepherds. We don't work with sheep. We maybe don't really know what those things are for. So I had to look that up myself because I don't really know it. And I had learned this as a kid and never really thought of it. We often will see the shepherd with his staff, the big, long stick with a crook on the end that he uses to maybe guide his sheep, pick his sheep up when they get stuck somewhere, or just gently lead them. And we've already talked about how God does that for us, right? In verse 3, it said, he guides me in the right path for the honor of his name. So he can use that shepherd's staff to guide his sheep. But what's the rod? Is that part of the staff? We really don't have an idea in our world, right? But actually, when I looked it up, the rod was a short little stick that the shepherd would also use, and they still use today. And they can use it as a weapon to fight off other animals that come and threaten their sheep. They can also use it to guide their sheep as when they're closer to them, or even to part the sheep's wool to check on them to make sure that they're healthy and their fur is, or their wool is okay and nothing is hiding inside the wool. But they can also use it to guide and to discipline their sheep as well. And sometimes we don't think that discipline can be comforting for us. Nobody likes to be disciplined. The Bible even tells us that in the New Testament. No discipline seems pleasant while it's happening. But yet, if a parent or a shepherd were knowing that that sheep or the child were doing something wrong and they didn't guide us or they didn't discipline us and correct us to do the right thing, then that wouldn't be very loving. So I'm just going to have you draw that picture and we'll talk some more about it then. All right, so here's the pictures we've done so far. The Lord is my shepherd. He gives me everything I need. And that was our first verse. He lets me lay down in green pasture. He leads me beside quiet waters. That was verse 2. Verse 3, he gives me new strength. He guides me in the right path for the honor of his name. And yesterday we talked about, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid, for you are with me. Today we're moving on to talk about the shepherd's rod and staff. So we can draw the great big shepherd again, because this is a reminder of God. And his rod, I said, was just a short little stick. We can draw that in one hand, and in his other hand is the shepherd's staff. So it's kind of with that crook on the end. So it's a great big stick with a crook on the end is the shepherd's staff. And they comfort me. So I was wondering how we can draw comfort. And I just thought, well, a hug, right? A hug is comforting. And how do you draw a hug? I just thought maybe a nice heart going around us like a hug. So the shepherd's rod and the shepherd's staff, they comfort me. So verse 4 was, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid, for you are with me. Your shepherd's rod and staff, they comfort me. And we can write that on the back as well. Your shepherd's rod and staff comfort me. So now we've done verse 4. Remember 4, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. And we can even say your shepherd's rod and your staff, they comfort me. Again, sometimes I use the wrong words just because I had memorized it a long time ago. And we can remember and look at those pictures just to remind us, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid, for you are with me. Your shepherd's rod and staff, they comfort me. All right, kids, I'm gonna let you keep working on that. And just as we do that, remember that God loves us and he will never leave us. Even though things may seem dark at times, he is always with us. And even when we're disciplined and we go through times that feel like we're being corrected for things, it's because God loves us, that he wants what's best for us and he wants us to do things. Continue to learn those. If all you've learned so far is the Lord is my shepherd, he gives me everything I need, then keep remembering that this just builds on that throughout all of what we're learning. Take care, kids, and we'll talk to you again soon.